Hi, my name is Julio Rivera. I'm an activist, journalist, adventurer, veteran, television presenter, and businessman. I've covered many of the major historical events going on around the world over the past several years, and after watching regime changes, conflict, and historic elections globally, I've come to the conclusion that the most underreported crisis in the world today can be defined in only one word: malware. That's why I've decided to dedicate my time to educating people everywhere and exposing the dangers that exist on the devices that we've become tethered to and depend on for so many reasons in our day-to-day life. Welcome to This Week in Malware. On This Week in Malware, we'll be covering FunctionLogInput modifies multiple browser settings on Mac. Browser hijackers and other threats could take advantage of the ExtensionInstallForcelist Chrome policy to make their removal problematic. And UltraWebFormat takes over your browser to generate traffic. The constant onslaught of browser hijackers never ends, as now we have FunctionLogInput bothering Mac users worldwide. This browser hijacker is yet another addition to the growing pool of Mac security threats that users often accidentally install on their computers. You might be wondering, how come users install such programs on their machines willingly? Well, that is because FunctionLogInput employs specific distribution tactics that trick users into thinking they're installing a useful app. In some cases, users are not even aware that they've installed adware, browser hijackers, or potentially unwanted programs. This happens because FunctionLogInput comes through software bundles and random pop-ups that users encounter when they browse the web. Also, if users tend to download programs and media files from torrent websites, they have to understand that there is always a chance to get infected with a computer threat. Either way, if users are not careful about the files they download and the pop-ups they click, FunctionLogInput and other similar hijackers get added to their browsers. FunctionLogInput seems to be targeting mainly Chrome because it performs additional modifications on the said browser. Aside from changing the default homepage to search.imah5hf.com, it also adds the Manage by Your Organization feature on Chrome. If you are on a work computer, this feature might mean that your organization's administrator can control your Chrome settings. But if you do not have an organization, your browser settings have clearly been modified by a browser hijacker or any other unwanted program. This also shows how browser hijackers can employ actual Chrome settings and policies to expand their functionality. We will give you an example of this in our next video segment, but for now, users are advised to remove FunctionLogInput from their computers. If users do not remove FunctionLogInput, they may experience constant browser redirections to modified search result pages where they may be exposed to potentially harmful third-party links. While FunctionLogInput cannot destroy your computer, it can easily work as a medium between a user and a far more dangerous malware infection. This browser hijacker is also a very good wake-up call because if it managed to enter the target system, there's a good chance that there are more unwanted and harmful programs on board. To terminate them all, security experts strongly recommend using a reliable anti-malware tool. ExtensionInstallForcelist Chrome policy is a good example of how browser hijackers and other threats can use an actual Chrome policy to modify Chrome settings. All by itself, the ExtensionInstallForcelist Chrome policy is not malicious in any way. Administrators can use the policy to specify which extensions and applications can be installed automatically without the user's authorization. This policy can also list apps that the affected user cannot uninstall. Thus, browser hijackers and potentially unwanted programs that employ this policy may be able to resist removal. Therefore, if you're trying to remove a browser hijacker, but it does not go away, there's a good chance that it uses the ExtensionInstallForcelist Chrome policy too. Probably the most frustrating thing about this policy is it can only be seen when users access certain Chrome settings. However, even if you access the Chrome policy settings, the list of apps in the policies section will look like gibberish to a regular user. This is because the apps are listed not by their actual names, but by their policy values, and so all the user sees are long and random strings of lowercase letters. Therefore, to remove the ExtensionInstallForcelist Chrome policy, users must consider resetting their browser setting to default. Resetting the browser should also delete the browser hijacker that added the policy in the first place. However, once the browser is clean, users should also consider scanning their system with an anti-malware tool, because you can never know what other threats might be lurking in the system's background. ExtensionInstallForcelist Chrome policy is not an actual security threat, so users have to remember how this policy gets added to their browser if they want to avoid it. Since this policy is often used by Mac browser hijackers, adware, and potentially unwanted programs, users should know what they can do to avoid those first. Browser hijackers often come bundled with freeware, or they reach users through pop-ups that users encounter on unreliable websites. If you review your web browsing habits and weed out everything that might lead you to dubious pages with harmful content, you should be able to avoid the annoying security threats that use the ExtensionInstallForcelist Chrome policy to take over your browser. UltraWebFormat is a browser hijacker that targets Mac users. With the increase of browser hijackers, adware, potentially unwanted programs, and other threats intended for Mac, threat developers are trying to benefit from the current threat trends as much as possible. They release practical clones one after the other. After all, UltraWebFormat is very similar to FunctionLogInput and several other browser hijackers we have discussed before. So what is the reason behind these rapid browser hijacker releases? For one, all these browser hijackers tend to have their own promoted domains. In the case of UltraWebFormat, the browser hijacker promotes search.7ax6.com. This domain clearly cannot provide users with relevant search results, but browser hijacker developers do not care about that. Browser hijackers with such promoted URLs tend to have a short lifespan. So, when UltraWebFormat and search.7ax6.com eventually get taken down, you can be sure that another Mac threat will take its place. It is just a matter of time before another browser hijacker pops up seemingly out of nowhere. What does UltraWebFormat do to your Mac? UltraWebFormat functions like all the other browser hijackers that affect Mac browsers. It changes the default homepage, search engine, and new tab settings. Users often agree to perform these modifications themselves, although they are seldom aware of it. If UltraWebFormat reaches users through random pop-ups, users tend to click those pop-ups without reading them carefully because they want the annoying pop-up window to disappear. If UltraWebFormat arrives bundled with freeware, users simply do not see that they add more than one program to their computer because they seldom pay attention. As a result, the browser hijacker changes default browser settings, and user search queries get directed through search.7ax6.com. UltraWebFormat makes use of the Google search engine to make itself look reliable, but by redirecting queries to its own URL, it monitors and tracks users' online activity. While browser hijackers cannot collect sensitive personal information, data on browser history can, later on, be used for custom advertising or shared with unreliable third-party associates. When such security threats are present on a computer, UltraWebFormat should be removed as soon as possible. You know, as I think about the dangers that exist online, not unlike the subjects we learned about in this video, I know I feel a lot better having an anti-malware program like SpyHunter installed in my PC, providing me the protection I need against malware, and I think you should too. SpyHunter 5's strongest features are found in its malware repair capabilities. SpyHunter 5's remediation algorithms dive deep into your system to remove and address complex malware issues affecting PCs today. While many anti-malware products only flag and quarantine malware and ultimately fail to fully remediate the root problem, the SpyHunter 5 remediation algorithm detects, quarantines, and programmatically repairs malware problems on your PC. SpyHunter 5 is a powerful PC utility that repairs malware threats in many cases where other competing anti-malware and antivirus programs may fail. To detect and remove malware for free, go to enigmasoftware.com and download SpyHunter today. Thanks for watching.